Hi, Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. A bit ago a viewer asked me for the exact measurements and specs for a segmented project that I've made. It was a lidded bowl at that point. Now normally this is not a problem, I'm willing to share, but from the tone of the email I thought we could do a little bit better if you understand the design process of a segmented project. Then you can go far beyond what I did then or what I'm going to do now. So this time I'll emphasize design and as we go through the process. I'm going to make this as a lidded bowl. This is about almost 10 inches in diameter and 3.5 inches in height as just the bowl. And then as a separate project I'll finish this lid. I have some special plans for this one. But for now, let's make a large segmented bowl. We can fill it with candy. Be a lot of candy, but whatever we want, we can put in it. Let's make this bowl.
Usually, I do my design work on a computer. However, this time, I'll do it manually to keep everything low-tech. The only concession is that I'm using a grid on a transparency instead of graph paper. The grid is for measurements. I only need to draw 1/2 of the bowl's profile, so I'm folding the paper in half to mark the center line. Then I'm marking the maximum size and the baseline. Now I'm sketching out a basic utility bowl. Next, I need measurements for my drawing. Since I did not draw on graph paper, I'm overlaying the transparency to my drawing, and I'll get out the calculator on my phone. Aren't smartphones wonderful? Wish there was an app for this. Starting from the bottom, I'll measure the outer and inner diameter of my bowl, including some extra for tooling. The most critical points are to have enough wood at each ring transition at both the top and the bottom of the segment ring. This is tricky near the corner of the bowl. Next, I'll calculate the segment length for each ring. Since I know the outer diameter, I'm multiplying the diameter times pi at 3.1414 and dividing by the number of segments, which is 12. Later, I added another ring to the bottom of the lid and to the bottom of the bowl. I calculated my miter angle to be 15 degrees. This is 360 degrees in a circle, divided by the number of segments, 12, then dividing by 2, since the angle is split between the two sides of the segments. After setting up my segment sled for 15 degrees, I'm off to cut segments. I generally cut segments for one ring, glue them before cutting segments for the next ring. This enables me to get the glue to dry while preparing the next ring. Then I don't need as many clamps. After checking the ring to ensure there are not gaps between the segments, I can glue up the entire ring all at once. However, if there had been a gap, I would glue the ring into half rings, true up the faces, and then glue the two halves into a complete ring. I check each ring as there are many variables that can create gaps. These rings exceed the capacity of my largest band clamp. No problem. I can join two band clamps end to end to create a larger band clamp. Next is a lot of gluing rings together. For this video, I'll glue all rings on the lathe and avoid other specialized techniques. The trickiest is the bottom ring. For the bottom ring, I need to inset a little piece of homemade oak plywood into a shallow mortise in the first ring. I prepared the plywood by mounting it to a wood faceplate with double-stick tape. A rubber stopper on the live center prevents marring the surface. After cutting the mortise to size, I glued the plywood to the ring. After the base is completed, the rest of the gluing becomes repetitive. I'm using a Longworth chuck to center the rings. Before I had a Longworth chuck, I would hot melt glue rings to a large MDF disc with concentric marks drawn on it to help center rings. Either way works fine. As I started to glue discs of equal size, I noticed a problem. The posts on the chuck were all tall enough to interfere with the points of the previous ring. I managed to finish the first two equal-sized rings. After that, I resolved to rough turn the previous rings before gluing on the next ring. At the same time, I also rough turned the inside. I rough turned both the outside and inside of the growing bowl before gluing on the next ring. With the gluing completed and the bowl left overnight to ensure the glue is dry, I can finish turn the bowl's exterior. On this oak, I'm finding a shear scrape with a gouge works best. For the interior hollowing, I'm using a round carbide cutter, but as the bowl walls approach the final size, I'm seeing a lot of chatter on the upper inside wall. The chatter persists despite speed changes, softer approaches, and cutter rotation. I don't want to resort to a 60 grit tool. Upon my return after a lunch break, I set up my DIY steady rest. The bowl barely fit. I may have to make a new base for the steady rest for other large bowls. With the steady rest and turning at a lower speed due to the steady rest, the vibration and resulting chatter disappears. I'm finishing up the bottom with a heavy bowl scraper, then sand up through the grits and part it off. I don't think I would have been able to complete it without the steady rest. Now with the bowl reverse mounted onto my homemade coal jaws, I'm carefully finishing the foot. When finished, I'll sand it, sign it, dunk it in walnut oil for a short soak, and then dry it before buffing the surface for a nice shine. I like this utility bowl. I'll make a lid for it in another video with a little something extra. I hope you see from this video that segmented work is not complicated. Just do a little simple design, a little basic math, and get to it. Please note that segmented turning does not have to have a complex feature ring. We can do a lot of very nice projects without one. With that, we'll see you again next week with another wood turning video. I love feedback via your comments. Please like this video, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to both my website and YouTube channel. Always wear your full face shield. Goggles are not enough. Flying wood only giggles at goggles. Until next time, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.